welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday morning. All right, we have a pretty chill day today, I think. Given the fact that there was a joint session of Congress that happened last night. So we're gonna double time it because obviously we don't have all the time in the world, but we'll double time it. Hey, spread it forward. How's it going? Plus, I'm kind of feeling I woke up feeling kind of meh, so we'll take it slow today, I think. Let's try to get this let's try to get through this as quickly as possible. There is a couple of videos that I saw.
I've commented on this before, but you've asked for more. So let me give you 3 basic reasons why this boom is not likely to be anything like what it's being hyped up to be. And that's important for the immediate future of all of us. Number 1.
I thought this video was interesting.
The business community is able to use its political power to reduce everything that Mr. Biden has promised. The Business Roundtable just released a survey that 98% of the CEOs it surveyed don't want the corporate profits tax to be raised, as Biden has asked, from 21% to 28%. Let's again be clear. Raising it from 21 to 28, which is all the president has asked for, is only going halfway back to what it was as late as 2017, when Trump dropped it with the Republicans from 35 to 21%. So it's only the modest halfway back to what the corporations were doing, to 28%. And the business community won't have it. They don't want it even raised at all. They want to keep it. They want Mr. Biden to be just like Mr. Trump when it comes to taxing corporations,
Correct.
namely not taxing them. He's going to have a lot of problems, and therefore he's not going to be able to pay for these spending programs with taxes, because the corporations will allow it, and the massive people.
There is a point there. We had a 35% tax rate before Trump, and businesses were operating just fine. There are still businesses, there are still Walmarts, there was still Amazon. Well, at that point Amazon was a thing. There was still McDonald's. Huh, weird. Hey, Rendies, how's it going? Howdy.
People can't afford it. So he's going to borrow the money, which takes our already huge unprecedented deficits and makes them larger, and makes our already record-breaking national debt go up even higher, even faster. And that runs all kinds of economic risks. Second, please keep in mind that all the government spending, or the overwhelming bulk of it, for the COVID program, for the infrastructure program, is federal money going into the hands of corporations. Even when the money goes from the federal government to a state or a locality, they in turn will give it to corporations to contract for all the work to be done, whether it's to provide inoculations, or it's to rebuild a bridge, or to extend a road. It goes into the hands of corporations. And you know what they're going to do? Well, we know what they do with all the money they get from all their contracts. Huge amount goes to the shareholders. A huge amount goes to pay packages for people at the top. Some money goes to automation, so they don't have to pay wages to high wages to workers. Money goes to consultants to how to beat a union drive. You know the story? That's the story of the United States and the inequality we have. That's not going to be changed by giving a lot of money to make
fairly accurate.
It's going to reproduce the very system that got us to the neglected infrastructure in the first place. There's a bit of a spinning of wheels here. Don't be overtaken by the hype. And then there's the last reason we're not going to have a boom. Back in 1945, we had a much less unequal society. The rich weren't as rich, and the mass of people weren't as stretched financially, which meant when the government pumped money in, it spread out more evenly, because we were a more evenly organized society. We're not now. We're much, much, much more unequal. So a disproportionate amount of this government spending is going to go into the hands of people not likely to spend it again, because they are already the richest amongst us. And how many Bentleys and how many ghosts are they going to buy?
All of them. Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with that. Income inequality is definitely a massive problem that needs to be dealt with 100%.
I had to pay $39.35 to hold my baby after he was born. You need to pay money to hold a baby?
The New York Times put together a fantastic video asking people from other countries how they feel about the American healthcare system and to share their own experiences from their own country. Now, I'm going to play this for you, but first I just want to show you that despite having a Democratic White House and Congress, still there is no meaningful change being pushed when it comes to healthcare. Biden's family plan includes Medicare expansion, drug price changes backed by Democrats. This is really just around the edges. And still, they're not even fixing the bare minimum when it comes to the American healthcare system.
Hey, Memmius, how's it going?
That after this great video.
Oh my god!
Imagine you're in America. Which of these options would be best for you?
That's a lot to think about.
What is it? An Oop Max? I guess with what I got here, I would go with Plan D because the deductible is 0.
Okay, there's more.
Gold, HMO, PPO, HMO.
What are co-pays? I don't get... That's like if you pay for Spotify Premium, and Spotify still makes you pay every time you listen to a song.
Right. That is a perfect analogy. That's correct. I think part of the reason why Biden is only going back up to 28% is because he's making up for the difference in other areas, like the capital gains tax and closing the loopholes that let companies offshore profits. I think he also wanted to impose a small per transaction tax on the stock and commodity trades. Yeah, I mean, if so, that's also perfectly acceptable. Yeah, I'm completely fine with raising capital gains tax, specifically closing that one loophole we talked about yesterday. How's it going?
Too complicated. I'm lost. I'm so lost.
Here in Japan, even if you lose a job, you would never lose your health insurance.
When you lose your job, that's when society should help you.
I've
Right.
chosen a creative job and had the backing of a healthcare system. But if you don't have that, do you pick the safe job or do you pick the creative job?
Price per unit for insulin in 2018.
Germany, $11.
Canada's $12. Wow.
Jesus.
It's like 8 times the price of insulin in Canada. I guess that explains why Americans come up to Canada to buy medication.
Yeah, no kidding.
Big Pharma doesn't want you to know
Whoa.
about this detail.
I'm sorry, hold on. So the FDA doesn't have any authority over the prices?
We have also privatized health insurance companies in Germany, but the prices are regulated by the government.
The government negotiates the prices and fixes that price for 2 years.
In Singapore, they regulate this stuff to keep the prices down and, avoid like this happening.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm looking at an American medical bill.
Why is it so expensive?
$428,000 for rooms and such empty spaces. What?
Much cheaper to go Hilton Hotel than this one.
Skin to skin after C-section is $39.
I had to pay $39.35 to hold my baby after he was born. You need to pay money to hold a baby?
My brother Jamie, who's in a lot of our videos, was pretty badly injured. He's going to lose a couple fingers. If you can give $1 or if you can give $5, every little bit will help him and his family.
That's heartbreaking.
GoFundMe should not be something that people have to resort to pay for their medical bills.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
So in America, people spend more than twice as much as in Japan for healthcare.
That's unbelievable.
The amount for a car,
Yeah, imagine living in a society where you depend on GoFundMe for your healthcare insurance. Like I think like the number one health insurance plan is GoFundMe. Jesus Christ.
would want the car to be twice as good.
So what's the life expectancy in the US?
Why is it less?
The US should be on top of both of those lists. Like, if you're charging your citizens that much money, then they better be living the longest lives. It doesn't make sense.
It's because it doesn't make sense. That's the point. It doesn't make sense, right? We don't get any better or less outcomes, and we paid twice the amount of money for nothing. I mean, it's just literally for nothing. All of that is just going to profit.
When Alec turned 26,
It's so
he was
wasteful.
no longer allowed on his mother's insurance plan. Instead, he decided to pay for his insulin over the counter at list price. But the pharmacist told him a month's supply would be $1,300.
$1,300.
Alec's official cause of death was diabetic ketoacidosis.
A couple years ago, I developed a heart condition, and I had to have my heart restarted 3 times.
Dude died because he couldn't afford his medication. Yeah.
After the 3rd time I had it restarted, the doctor suggested I get heart surgery.
When I was 13, I started to get sick and really, really sick. I was
It
very
is
quickly
plain
admitted to
cruelty.
hospital, where after 3 weeks, I had treatment for a brain virus.
The cost of the operation, I think, is about $60,000. And then the next day, when I left the hospital and I got my bill, it was a bill for parking. It was about $30.
I was treated by
A
Royal
bill
Doctors,
for
had
parking.
several MRIs, lumbar punctures, all for free.
So I was pretty happy that I live in Canada and had universal health care.
I couldn't have survived if I was in America.
What?
To know that
Oh, I get it. Dang. Dude, his bill was the $30 parking fee. Can you imagine that? That is amazing. I understand it now. That is amazing. You have your own story on this front? Oof. Imagine just going to get the surgery that you need, the healthcare that you need, and the worst thing that you have to worry about is, oh yeah, just a $30, parking fee. That's it. Everything else is good. Like, unbelievable.
I can get sick, I can get injured, but I will still be taken care of. That is freedom. This is not freedom.
And that, I think, is the greatest point. Freedom. Americans care so much about freedom. How is a private healthcare system freedom? How is going bankrupt over medical bills freedom?
It's not.
How is being stuck in a job that you don't enjoy but you have healthcare? How is that freedom?
It's
Freedom
not.
is having healthcare guaranteed to you. Freedom is never having to think about healthcare. That's the system that I live in. Now, it's not perfect. If I'm talking to a Canadian audience, I have criticisms of our system. We don't cover dental care, for example, but this Bernie Sanders Medicare for All plan does cover dental care. It is comprehensive. How is it freedom to live in a system where you are constantly worrying about getting sick? The expressions on those faces is something I'm also familiar with. When I discuss this issue, American healthcare, with people in my life that are Canadians, they're blown away at how crazy the American healthcare system is. And I'm talking about people that are conservative and liberals, people that normally you would think, at least in America, wouldn't support a universal healthcare system, but because they're conservatives who grew up within a system that guarantees them healthcare, they also recognize how completely insane it is that healthcare is not guaranteed to Americans. There isn't a single party in Canada that supports getting rid of our healthcare system. That should tell you everything. Now,
see, okay, so there's an interesting point before we move on. Once you implement some type of universal healthcare system, it is incredibly difficult to get rid of because it is so popular. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. I had all that stuff removed, did the radiation. Anyways, I have to take Synthroid because I have no more thyroid gland. A few days ago, I went to refill the prescription, and the price of the medicine went up 400%. 400%. That is, unimaginable. I don't know. I don't even have words to say. I don't even have the words to say other than what Memia said. It's just plain cruelty. It's inhumane. It shouldn't be this way. It just shouldn't. Especially knowing that we can afford it. That's what's really frustrating about this whole thing. We can absolutely afford it. We can absolutely make this a better place where this doesn't happen. Where someone who went through all of this doesn't have to see a 400% increase of their medicine that they need. This isn't optional. It's just like Memia said. There's just no other words. It's just plain cruelty, inhumane.
in terms of Joe Biden, who is, I guess, supposed to be, helping people, he talks about how he cares about people. Well, why does he not support a Medicare for All system? This is an article from 2019, but I think it still largely applies to today, as you're going to see why. Although health insurers and pharmaceutical industry are funding a variety of Democratic candidates, all of whom are now either attacking or backed away from their earlier support for Sanders' Medicare for All bill, the primary conduit for their campaign against the policy appears to be Biden. Health insurers were thrilled when Biden entered the race, seeing his campaign as a bulwark against Sanders' plan for Medicare for All. And in these Times investigation from July found that Biden received the most money in the Democratic field from insurance and pharmaceutical employees, while Sanders received the least. He kicked off his campaign with a fundraiser hosted by a health insurance executive, and one of Biden's campaign aides is a former healthcare lobbyist.
I'm not surprised.
What if I told you you could go back 50? Yes.
I'm not surprised. Thank you for the follow, Ali Ali. Yeah, explain to me in what normal functioning system is this acceptable? In what normal functioning system is this acceptable? Hey Jesse, how's it going? Where you have to go to the pharmaceutical company, they point the finger at the insurance company, and then when you go to the insurance company, they point the finger at the pharmaceutical company, at the pharmacy, and then exactly, you get like the runaround, and hey, you still need those that medicine. It just blows my mind. It should just be. It should just be. I need X medication. I go to pharmacy, I get X medication. That's it. It should be as simple as that. I mean, for all the taxes we pay and all the wasteful government spending, you know, you would think. But yeah, I'm sorry, Olo. Side note, I made Heat 420 in a Dave Dole stream. Live stream back in the day, good peeps? Yeah, good peeps. Good peeps indeed. Hey Jesse, hope you're doing alright. Alright folks, really quickly. Hey, thank you for the subscription, Ali Ali. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. FBI searches Giuliani's home office, seizing phones and computers. Prosecutors obtained the search warrants as part of an investigation into whether really Giuliani broke lobbying laws when he was President Trump's personal lawyer. And check links in DM. Let me see. Oh yeah, I saw the RT video, but I'm not too like I don't know about RT. I don't know about that. I feel like they have a very biased perspective. But nonetheless interesting. I'm sleepy but better than Giuliani, true. Yeah, to be fair, they all have biases. Yeah, you're right, Memo. Exactly. RT is pretty good.
A lot of people don't know this, but the best way to...
Stop, I hate these ads. I trust RT at the same level as BBC. I don't know. We'll take a look at this really quickly because we don't have
to a very important and relevant news story. This is something that you have already noticed, which is that suddenly you are paying a hell of a lot more for stuff today than you were, say, a year ago, or say, I don't know, a few months ago even. And I'm going to give you some examples, okay? And I want to start with the price of gasoline. All right, $2.33 a gallon, March of 2020. A year later, it's at $2.90. That's gas. Let's take a look at milk. Everybody has to buy milk, right?
Well, I
Most
mean,
families do.
hold on. I mean, gas prices fluctuate on a dime, so I don't know about that one. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Wow, the man, the myth, the legend. Ted Cancun Cruz.
You start a year ago, a gallon of milk was $3.54. It's now at $3.59. It's up, not as much, but the point is, everything is up. You know what else is going up? Through the roof. Home prices. Try going out there and buying a home these days. Just a 3-2, as they say, single family home. $273,000 was the average price. It's now $334,000, more than $334,000 for the average home in the United States. Oh, how about trying to buy a car? How about going out there and trying to buy a car these days? Spring of 2020, average car sale in the United States, $34,000. Right now,
yeah, I mean, inflation, well, cost of living has been consistently going up.
What is this? And what's going on, right? This is what economists would call the beginning of inflation. That could get much worse and maybe even turn into something economists call stagflation, where just regular folks can't afford to buy things because they're essentially priced out of those markets. Speaking of economists, we're joined now by one of the best.
The cost of living, the cost of living has been increasing for quite some time. You called me for essentially saying BBC is biased. Well, I mean, all news is biased.
The economic update, Dr. Richard Wolff. All right, Dr. Wolff, take it away. What's going on and what can we expect to see in the year to come?
Well, what we're beginning to see is something that has worried observers of the American economic system for a long time, at least as far back as 2008 and 9, the crash of those years, and continuing pretty much and then getting more intense over the last year. And here's what we see. A growing quantity of money pumped into the economy by the Federal Reserve, way more money than could be justified by an increase in the output of goods and services. And then you have a simple law. If all that extra money were to be out there looking to buy goods and services, since the quantity of money went up a lot and the goods and services didn't, then you'd expect the people with the money to bid against one another, driving up the prices.
Correct.
The only reason that did not happen was that there wasn't a demand enough. The companies didn't dare raise their prices because they knew that the economic fallout of those crises, the unemployment and the difficulties people face, were making them wary of buying, so they didn't. And the money had to go somewhere, so it went to the stock market. What people don't realize is in the last 10 years, we have had the inflation, only not in the market for goods and services, but in the price of stocks on the stock exchange, because that's gone crazy over this period of time. And now the last step, the pandemic, the terrible year 2020, when the companies who couldn't raise their prices suffered a loss of business because of the pandemic and the crash with 30 million people, if you count properly, out of work. They are now in deep trouble. They borrowed money to get through the hard times. They want to pay back those debts. They want to make the profits they couldn't make in the past. And so they are now raising prices on average 5 to 10%, with many going higher, in a somewhat desperate effort to recoup, to make sure that as the economy has these ongoing difficulties, they keep their hands on their profits. And as you're right, Rick, as they do that, everybody who has to buy goods and services is going to suffer a decline in what they can afford.
And if this continues...
Okay, so I'm not 100% understanding what Professor Wolff was saying, but if I interpreted correctly, is that he said that there would be inflation because these companies had to borrow all of this money or had to get all of this assistance, and in order for them to recuperate all of their losses, they're going to have to raise prices. Therefore, like, things just go up. But I'm not, because from what I understood, the way they deployed all of this economic relief and aid, a lot of economists weren't really concerned about inflation. Rather, they weren't concerned about any additional negative, like really bad, a bad case of inflation, right? Because if you spend it properly and you deploy the economic aid properly, it wouldn't really show. Okay, so there was inflation in the financial sector, but not that much in the real economy. Okay, so okay, that makes sense. Gotcha.
And the prices continue to go up. Down to 30 seconds, Professor. Where does this lead us to? What happens if regular folk, as I said, are locked out of the market because of these increasing prices?
One of two things, or maybe a combination. The first one is that these companies, and this has happened in the past, discover they cannot do that. By raising those prices, they will lose so much business that they go back and undo the price increases. That's one option. The other option, much more frightening, is that they will determine that the United States is simply for them not the place to be, that the people can't afford the stuff here, and they're going to become more and more focused on where in the world markets are growing, China being a major example, and be even more interested in getting into that market than they have been in the past. So I think people are going to have to watch very carefully as this inflationary trend makes itself felt.
I'm hearing great things about Costa Rica this time of the year.
Costa Rica, one of the fastest developing countries in Central America, rapidly developing countries. There's been massive movement in Costa Rica. Yeah, I think that Professor Wolf has a point. If we don't fix this, it's gonna be really bad. Yeah, exactly. It's coming to the real economy, and stagflation happened in the 70s, and it's really bad. Exactly. Like, if this continues, if that's true, if so, yeah, it's gonna be really bad. It's gonna be really bad. The party in power at this time, the Democratic Party, needs to address this. And if they don't, it's gonna be really bad. The system working as intended. Yeah. All right, folks. Back to this. I think this is like the major headline that was going on yesterday, and we'll take a look at the address in double time, so we have enough time to watch a 1.75. Yeah, that's fine. All right, folks. Prosecutors obtained a search warrant as part of an investigation into whether Rudy Giuliani broke lobbying laws when he was President Trump's personal lawyer. Yikes. Everything they accuse other people of doing is what they were doing. Federal investigators on Wednesday seized cell phones and computers from Rudolph Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City who became President Trump's personal lawyer, stepping up a criminal investigation into Mr. Giuliani's dealings in Ukraine. 3 people with the knowledge of the investigation said. FBI agents executed search warrants around 6 a.m. at Mr. Giuliani's apartment on Madison Avenue and his Park Avenue office in Manhattan, carting away electronic devices, Mr. Giuliani confirmed in a statement. The execution of search warrants is an extraordinary action for prosecutors to take against a lawyer, let alone a lawyer for a former president. I mean, I don't know if he was like a real lawyer, but he definitely was in Trump's legal team. But we say difficult truths, right? True. There's no way the Dems are going to address the economic inequality for real. They'll pass poverty savings account or some shit. Yeah, if they don't, I mean, it's gonna look bad. It's gonna look really bad. It's really frustrating because like the only people who end up really taking the L on this in the future, and by the future I mean, and this continues, you know, years down the road, is the working class and the middle class. That's who ends up taking the L for the lack of will to address these issues, right? The rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer no matter who's in office. There's definitely truth in that. I mean, if they fail to address this, we're gonna see stuff that unprecedented. I think maybe could be to the scale of the Depression era. Maybe not now, but certainly if things continue the way they are and they don't address fundamental problems of having such unsustainable levels of income inequality, eventually that's going to turn around and we're going to see some potentially depression era levels if we don't fix this. It's that simple. It could potentially look really bad. The move marked a major development in long-running investigations into Mr. Giuliani, which examined some of the same people and conduct that were at the center of Mr. Trump's first impeachment trial. Right, remember how people were saying, like, oh, the whole Ukraine impeachment, there was nothing there, it was just a hoax, perfect phone call, so on and so forth. Yeah, nah, don't think so. Not really a depression, though. The stocks are still going up. Yeah, but the stocks are going up, and I feel like that could turn into like a bubble that'll eventually pop. I mean, I think that, if I understood Das Vidania, these are stocks that are being inflated, and don't companies like also artificially pump up their stocks? I mean, I feel like maybe eventually that will pop. The system doesn't work if there isn't constant pressure on labor. That's why they won't do the minimum wage hike. Some companies will go bust, but they will just get bought up by larger corporations. Yeah, and wouldn't that further the issue, though? Wouldn't that continue to consolidate more and more wealth into fewer and fewer hands, which will rise the income inequality, which will become eventually, I mean, it's already at the unsustainable levels. It will just continue to get worse, and then that will eventually bust. What does that mean? They took our jobs. What does that username mean? Eventually we'll all just be slaves to Amazon. Well, I'm getting my early pass by being a streamer, so I'm already investing in the future. No, I'm kidding, but it is true that if this continues, the concentration of wealth and the concentration of power will continue to get into fewer and fewer hands. And that is unacceptable. Hey, spread it forward. It was also a remarkable moment in Mr. Giuliani's long arc as a public figure. As mayor, Giuliani won national yeah, okay. We don't need to go over that part. In recent years, however, his image has been sullied by efforts to help Mr. Trump dig up dirt on Ukraine, on President Biden's son, and to lead Mr. Trump's attempt in court to overturn the results of the 2020 elections with baseless claims of widespread fraud. In his statement, Giuliani denied any wrongdoing and argued that the search warrants demonstrated a corrupt double standard on part of the Justice Department, which, by the way, wasn't this like initiated by Trump's Justice Department? Which he said had ignored blatant crimes by Democrats, including Hillary Clinton and President Biden. Jesus Christ. Okay. Quote, what they did today was legal thuggery. Funny. So yeah. It always ends up like this with these type of people, right? They make this entire dog and pony show about how we'll use the Biden-Ukraine thing, and then it turns out they're the ones who are committing crimes related to the Ukraine, right? I mean, unbelievable how these people are. I just saw a article here, politics, posted on the Discord. So I'll address this really quickly. Correct. Just gaslight, obstruct, and project. Yep. I don't have the CBS app. And so, yeah. DeSantis will head to key state of Pennsylvania. I think, somebody asked in the Discord when they posted this, politics_343. Do I think that Ron DeSantis will run? I think he might. I actually think he might. He's trying to raise his national platform, his national persona, his national, there's a word for it. Recognition. I don't know. He's trying to get his name out there, and I believe he's going to run for the nomination in 2024. I do think so. Especially after passing that, anti-rioting bill, which ended up just being political grandstanding, and he's passing all these like election integrity laws, even though Florida had a perfectly fine, smooth election. There wasn't. I don't think there was even a case in Florida in terms of like the election. Florida did phenomenal. Like, Florida counted its votes and presented the results pretty quickly, pretty smoothly, without any issues. And yet he still presents like and is trying to pass a election integrity. Like, this is all just political grandstanding, solving problems that don't exist. I think just to raise his national, his national rapport, I guess. I think he is going to run for the Republican, I think he is going to run for the Republican nomination. Oh, that's so cute. Here, let me show you. Here. Just, are you gonna wait for it? Oh, come on, Darknet. He beat me to it. Darknet has the quickest guns in the West. Oh man, these people are so unimaginative. Like, get a real job, Lefty, as he types in Twitch chat. How does one have time to do that? Right. Hey, maybe he should get a real job. He thought he could outsmart the Autobot. Not in this house. It takes time and effort. Yeah, that's an alt account, by the way. I remember you you banned the first account. I've seen that variation, I think. He's gonna get stomped by him by Marjorie Taylor Greene in the primaries. I mean, it's possible. I don't know if she's gonna run, although it'd be very, very scary if you got both Marjorie Taylor Greene and this guy running. Ooh, yikes. Oh, she will? I hope she doesn't. Yikes. That's why she's branding? Man, I hope not. It takes time and effort to troll by making new accounts manually and finding a stream following to... And yeah, these people have nothing better to do. It's really sad. But, yeah. It's really sad. And it's also really weird because since this person is probably a hate watcher and obviously took the time and effort to make alternate accounts, this person knows, or should know, that I sign off at about 11:25, just under 11:30 so I can log into work. So it's like, come on, dude. Get creative. Get creative. Like, this person obviously has seen my stream before. They've taken the effort to make different alternate accounts to do this. They know that my stream is about 2 hours and 20 something minutes so that I can log into work. These people are embarrassing. Oh man, I still can't remember the word. It's national, national... Not stardom. Not platform, not rapport. Not star power. National recognition? I don't know. Yeah, so I think that Florida Governor DeSantis is trying to build up that national recognition, and that he is... And the national profile, thank you! Yes, that is what I'm looking for. National profile. He doesn't really have that big of a national profile, and I think he is building it to it, and I think he is going to run. He must be an amateur troll because he followed before the ban. He can't even troll right. Wow, he didn't even get that part right. Shame. Yeah, he doesn't have the national profile. But I think he will run. He wanted to make sure you heard his favorite flavor of Polish. Hey Justin, how's it going? Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's because he's just open enough and just subtle enough. He's got that Trumpian vibe. I don't know, I think he's dangerous. I think he's got just enough Trumpian sprinkles that he does have he does pose a threat if he gets his national profile up. Please clap. I don't know if he'll win the nomination, but I think he has a shot. I think he has a shot. Tom Cotton is more dangerous, maybe. He also has a bit more he also has a bit more national profile. A bigger national profile, I think. Alright, let's see if we can stand this. Let's see how long we can stand this for.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor to present to you the President of the United States.
Hey, Rendo. Hey, Weekend. How's it going?
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Got that vaccine. Nice. Nice.
Mitch and Chuck will understand it's good to be almost home. Down the hall. Anyway, thank you all, Madam Speaker, Madam Vice.
Was that an attempt at a joke? Jesus Christ. Yeah, I didn't watch any of this. Neither did I.
President.
This is a show.
No president has ever said those words from this podium. No president has ever said those words.
This is just a show.
First Lady, I'm her husband. Second gentleman, Chief Justice. Members of the United States Congress and the Cabinet, distinguished guests, my fellow Americans. While the setting tonight is familiar, this gathering is just a little bit different. A reminder of the extraordinary times we're in. Throughout our history, presidents have come to this chamber to speak to Congress, to the nation, and to the world, to declare war, to celebrate peace, to announce new plans and possibilities. Tonight, I come to talk about crisis and opportunity, about rebuilding the nation, revitalizing our democracy, and winning the future for America. I stand here tonight, one day shy of the 100th day of my administration. 100 days since I took the oath of office and lifted my hand off our family Bible and inherited a nation, we all did, that was in crisis. The worst pandemic in a century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Now, after just 100 days, I can report to the nation, America is on the move again.
Wait. How? Where did you get this? Where did you...
Possibility, crisis to opportunity, setbacks and...
Wait. Source? We are nowhere near economic recovery. Granted, there have been good things that he's done, in terms of, like, giving some relief here and there, but I'm not sure what this means.
The strength, we all know life can knock us down.
Hey, Cladonius.
But in America, we never, ever, ever stay down. Americans always get up. Today, that's what we're doing. America's rising anew, choosing hope over fear, truth over lies, and light over darkness. After 100 days of rescue and renewal, America is ready.
The stocks don't really tell me how the real economy is doing, though.
Dreaming again, discovering again, and leading the world again. We have shown each other and the world that there's no quit in America. None. 100 days ago, America's house was on fire. We had to act. And thanks to the extraordinary leadership of Speaker Pelosi, Majority Leader Schumer, and the overwhelming support of the American people, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, we did act. Together we passed the American Rescue Plan, One of the most consequential rescue packages in American history. We're already seeing the results.
Yeah, but nobody. That's not the real economy, though. There's a lot of national. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah, I got you. Don't worry. I got you.
Promised we get 100 million COVID-19 vaccine shots into people's arms in 100 days. We will have provided over 220 million COVID shots in those 100 days. Thanks to all the help of all of you. We're marshaling, with your help, everyone's help, we're marshaling every federal resource. We've gotten vaccines in nearly 40,000 pharmacies and over 700 community health centers where the poorest of the poor can be reached. We're setting up community vaccination sites, developing mobile units to get to hard-to-reach communities. Today, 90% of Americans now live within 5 miles of a vaccination site. Everyone over the age of 16, everyone is now eligible to get vaccinated.
Yeah, Darknet, there's got to be definitely a lot of, what is this? Okay, that was really weird. That they, if they think we're safe from the capitalists, no, yeah, no, that's not.
Go get vaccinated, America. Go and get the vaccination. They're available.
I mean, true. Go get vaccinated. True.
When I was sworn in on January 20th, less than 1% of the seniors in America were fully vaccinated against COVID-19. 100 days later, 70% of seniors in America over 65 are protected, fully protected. Senior deaths from COVID-19 are down 80% since January. Down 80% because of all of you. And more than half of all the adults in America have gotten at least one shot. A mass vaccination center in Glendale, Arizona.
Yeah, there's always going to be like some type of like America rhetoric, Darknet.
I asked the nurse, I said, what's it like? She looked at me and she said, it's like every shot is giving a dose of hope, was her phrase, a dose of hope. A dose of hope for an educator in Florida who has a child suffering from an autoimmune disease. Wrote to me, said she's worried, and she was worried about bringing the virus home. She said she then got vaccinated at a large site in her car. She said she sat in her car when she got vaccinated and just cried. Cried out of joy and cried out of relief. Parents, seeing the smiles on their kids' faces for those who are able to go back to school because the teachers and school bus drivers and cafeteria workers have been vaccinated.
Hey, Gorlum, how's it going?
Parents, hugging their children and grandchildren instead of pressing hands against a window to say goodbye. It means everything. Those things mean everything. You know, there's still, you all know it, you know better than any group of Americans, there's still more work to do to beat this virus. We can't let our guard down. But tonight, I can say, because of you, the American people,
Fast Biden, yeah.
our progress these past 100 days against one of the worst pandemics in history has been
I can barely hear him.
logistical achievements.
And it's at full volume.
What else have we done in those first 100 days? We kept our commitment, Democrats and Republicans, of sending $1,400 rescue checks to 85% of American households. We've already sent more than 160 million checks out the door. It's making a difference. You don't know when you go home. For many people, it's making all the difference in the world. A single mom in Texas who wrote me, she said she couldn't work. But she said the relief check put food on the table and saved her and her son from eviction from their apartment. A grandmother in Virginia who told me she...
Okay, listen, I know that these stories are real, and
finding images, at least from my perspective in this crisis, has been
I know that some real people have been affected by this, and real people have been able
waiting for a box of food to be put in their trunk. I don't know about you, but I didn't ever
have been able to use some of this relief, of course. But what I want to hear is what you're going to do to make permanent fixes. Okay? Which, spoiler alert.
We're also providing rental assistance. You all know this, but the American people, I want to make sure they understand. Keeping people from being evicted from their homes. Providing loans to small businesses that reopen and keep their employees on the job. During these 100 days, an additional 800,000 Americans enrolled in the Affordable Care Act when I established a special sign-up period to do that.
That's not good. That's not a good thing.
We're making one of the largest one-time ever investments, ever, in improving health care for veterans. Critical investments to address the opioid crisis. And maybe, most importantly, thanks to the American Rescue Plan, we're on track to cut child poverty in America in half this year.
I'd like to point out that there's not a single Republican standing up for that. Granted, you know, I mean, saying that cutting child poverty in half is obviously just good. It's better than what we had before. But it's really weird how the hashtag Save the Children folk real quiet when even the most minute thing to try to help was done. Not one of them. Not one of them. Look at that.
And in the process, while this was all going on, the economy created more than 1,300,000 new jobs in 100 days. More jobs in the first. More jobs in the first 100 days than any president on record. The International Monetary Fund.
Does he mean like new jobs, or does he mean like people returning to work? Like, does he mean like really new jobs, or does he mean like, oh yeah, like all the economy is like opening up and people are going back to work, or people are getting rehired because companies are opening up again? Because like, what does that mean? Because like, let's say I'm working at I don't know, here, let's say I'm at McDonald's, right? McDonald's closes down because of COVID. I'm out of work, was unemployed for a few months. Now I am now working at Burger King. Does that mean that a new job was created? Massive unemployment levels dip, so true. As someone who's been sober for opiates for 2 months, the government is making the opiate crisis worse. Yeah, I'm not gonna dispute that. I would assume he means job growth from the infrastructure plan. Okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, although that is true, Alio, my objective is not to necessarily make the GOP / the MAGA mad for the sake of making them mad. My objective is to, what are you going to propose? What are you going to propose to actually fix issues? That's what I'm concerned about. Like, so I don't want to do things just for, like, you know how sometimes like conservatives will say like, oh yeah, just do whatever to own the libs. Yeah, I don't want to do that, okay? I'm interested in hearing solutions. I'm interested in hearing like, okay, what plans are you going to do? Oh, no doubt. There was, Alio, as you said, there were some things that he did that was good. I'm not going to deny that. However, we need to make sure that we actually address the real root of a lot of these problems, okay? No doubt it did help. Sure, it did help. Of course. Vaccines, all of that. Yes, that is true. It's just, it is moving, it is doing just objectively good stuff, some of these things. Right? Doing the whole like child tax cuts and stuff like that. Okay, that's good. However, I'm interested in trying to really solve the root causes of a lot of these issues that got us here in the first place. That's what I'm interested in. Right, it's just people going back to work, or Uber or Amazon. Yeah, exactly. Does he talk about the border conditions at all? No idea.
International
I don't think we can talk about that.
The economy will grow at a rate of more than 6% this year. That'll be the fastest pace of economic growth in this country in nearly 4 decades. America's moving forward, but we can't stop now. We're in competition with China and other countries to win the 21st century. We're at a great inflection point in history. We have to do more than just build back better. We have to build back better. We have to compete more strenuously than we have. Throughout our history, if you think about it, public investment in infrastructure has literally transformed America, our attitudes as well as our opportunities. The Transcontinental Railroad, the interstate highways, united 2 oceans, and brought a totally new age of progress to the United States of America. Universal public schools and college aid opened wide the doors of opportunity. Scientific breakthroughs took us to the moon. Now we're on Mars, discovering vaccines, gave us the internet, and so much more.
What? I mean, yes. Creating an infrastructure plan is desperately needed. We will see what you end up doing, for sure. I think that an infrastructure plan that is comprehensive and is deployed properly can be beneficial, can create jobs, can do all of this. Maybe Squid Deer. I think that it can be beneficial. Our infrastructure is absolutely crumbling. It is absolutely bad.
These are investments we made together as one country, and investments that only the government was in a position to make.
But I feel like here's the deal, Jack. I feel like he's talking about these things as if they already happened. I feel like he's talking about these things as if they already happened. There should be a federal jobs program. The private sector non-union work is going to soak up most of these grants as always. Yeah, wasn't the original proposal supposed to be an entire like federal jobs guarantee? Like, wasn't that the entire thing originally? Which, who knows? Again, he's acting as if this is already done. Again, now, I would like to see a aggressive movement to address healthcare and climate change. That's what I want to see. Biden needs more time besides the, yeah, I know that they're not going to help, but neither is President Joe Manchin.
And they propel us into the future. That's why I proposed the American Jobs Plan, a once-in-a-generation investment in America itself. This is the largest jobs plan since World War II. It creates jobs to upgrade our transportation infrastructure, jobs modernizing our roads, bridges, highways, jobs building ports and airports, rail corridors, transit lines. It's clean water. And today, up to 10 million homes in America and more than 400,000 schools and child care centers have pipes with lead in them, including drinking water, a clear and present danger to our children's health. American Jobs Plan creates jobs replacing 100% of the nation's lead pipes and service lines, so every American can drink clean water.
Okay, I mean,
the
again,
process will create thousands and thousands of good-paying jobs. It creates jobs connecting every American with high-speed internet, including 35% of the rural America that still doesn't have it. It's going to help our kids and our businesses succeed in the 21st century economy. And I'm asking the Vice President to lead this effort, if you would, because I know it will get done.
I mean,
Creates
yeah.
jobs building a modern power grid. Our grids are vulnerable to storms, hacks, catastrophic failures, with tragic results, as we saw in Texas and elsewhere during the winter storms. The American Jobs Plan will create jobs that lay thousands of miles of transmission lines needed to build a resilient and fully clean grid.
And fully clean grid. Okay, well, we'll see. We will see. Because, like, I'm sorry, but I have very little, hope, trust. I do want to see it, though. I do want to see it happen. I do want to see us move in a clean, green energy grid, which will, as he claims, will be more resilient, will be more sustainable, will be cheaper. I mean, I do want to see that. I just hope that he does what he says he's going to do. But it's after those John Kerry comments, I don't know.
We can do that. Look, the American Jobs Plan will help millions of people get back to their jobs and back to their careers. 2 million women have dropped out of the workforce during this pandemic. 2 million. And too often because they couldn't get the care they needed to care for their child or care for an elderly parent who needs help.
Hey, Hilda Beast, how's it
800,000
going?
families are on a Medicare waiting list right now to get home care for their aging parent or loved one with disability. If you think it's not important, check out in your own district, Democrat or Republican. Democrat or Republican voters. Their great concern, almost as much as their children, is taking care of an elderly loved one who can't be left alone. Medicaid contemplated it, but this plan is going to help those families and create jobs for our caregivers with better wages and better benefits, continuing the cycle of growth. For too long, we failed to use the most important word when it comes to meeting the climate crisis. Jobs. 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 For me, when I think climate change, I think jobs. American Jobs Plan will put engineers and construction workers to work building more energy-efficient buildings and homes. Electrical workers, IBEW members installing 500,000 charging stations along our highways so we can own
IWW workers?
so we can own the electric car market. Farmers planting cover crops so they can reduce the carbon dioxide in the air and get paid for doing it. Look,
Again, I like the idea, but I have a tough time believing you. That's my problem. I like the idea. It seems like you understand, but I have doubts of the actual actions that will be taken. Oh, IBEW. Okay. Alright. I mean, hey, union jobs, if that's what he's pushing for, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
think about it. There is simply no reason why the blades for wind turbines can't be built in Pittsburgh instead of Beijing. No reason. None. No reason. So, folks, there's no reason why American workers can't lead the world in the production of electric vehicles and batteries. I mean, there is no reason. We have the capacity. We're the brightest, best trained people in the world. The American Jobs Plan is going to create millions of good-paying jobs, jobs Americans can raise a family on. As my dad would then say, with a little breathing room. And all the investments in the American Jobs Plan.
Well, that's up to us, Alio.
Buy American.
We have to provide that pressure. We have to provide that pressure.
That does not violate any trade agreement. It's been the law since the 30s. Buy American. American tax dollars are going to be used to buy American products made in America to create American jobs. That's the way it's supposed to be, and it will be in this administration. And I made it clear to all my cabinet people, their ability to give exemptions has been strenuously limited. It will be American products. Now, I know some of you at home are wondering whether these jobs are for you. So many of you, so many of the folks I grew up with, feel left behind, forgotten, in an economy that's so rapidly changing. It's frightening. I want to speak directly to you, because you think about it.
Not disagreeing with you at all.
That's what people
Oh, it's all good.
Can I fit in? Independent experts estimate the American Jobs Plan will add millions of jobs and trillions of dollars to economic growth in the years to come. It is an 8-year program. These are good-paying jobs that can't be outsourced. Nearly 90% of the infrastructure jobs created in the American Jobs Plan do not require a college degree.
Imagine clinging on to the hope that manufacturing jobs are coming back. Yeah, that's a good point. Hold on. Wait. Unless there's some, how would you do that? Because like it's so, you've already screwed up so hard in terms of like, how are you supposed to bring those jobs back when there's no real reason as to why I as a business wouldn't go to China for manufacturing? Unless you go back, unless you unravel that whole deal, why would I as a business ever make anything here if I could just go to China? Because it will always be cheaper if I'm correct, right? Nonetheless, I think that the point still stands of like, or they'll just go to another country, but the point still stands in the sense that we do need to completely revamp, update our infrastructure system, our electric grid, our power grid, to be green, renewable, sustainable, resilient. I think that we do need to invest in public transportation. I think that we do need to do these things. I do sanctions and stock buys. He's talking about assembling things like solar panels in the US, but there's no way we can produce them cheaper than China can. Right. Basically what I was saying is, how are you supposed to compete with that? I mean, it doesn't matter. Why don't we just buy them off China? Okay, I think that we could probably do a deal where we have a deal with China, and also get them to start outsourcing that to other countries that can't afford to go green. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hoping too much. You can buy them in bulk off AliExpress. Gotta start somewhere. Yeah.
Blue-collar blueprint to build America. That's what it is.
Well, the infrastructure stuff definitely can be jobs that are here.
It recognizes something
So
I've
that
always
part
said,
is true.
in this chamber and the other. Good guys and women on Wall Street, but Wall Street didn't build this country. The middle class built the country. And unions built the middle class. So that's why I'm calling on Congress
And unions built the middle class.
to pass protect the right
Yes,
to order.
so, I mean, we do need to encourage unionship in this country. I think that whether or not he does something about it is yet to be seen, but the rhetoric of us supporting the PRO Act and the rhetoric of we need good union jobs, it's true. We do. We do need union jobs.
Organize Act, the PRO Act, and send it to my desk so we can support the right to unionize. And by the way, while you're thinking about sending things to my desk, let's raise the minimum wage to $15.
Wait.
No one.
Whoa. Am I confusing this? Didn't Biden I mean, if he supports it now, that's good. But wasn't he against it earlier? Somebody please fact check me. I could have sworn he was against it at the beginning, maybe during his like presidential run. Wait, or maybe I'm confusing Joe Biden with somebody else. Either way, I do think that he's correct. Once someone joins a union job, they'll never go back to working non-union. At least I won't, that is. Oh yeah, for sure. Union jobs are good and incredibly important, okay? Yeah, he didn't fight for it in the first bill. So, I don't know. I mean, sure, it's correct to support a 15 minimum wage, I think.
No one working 40 hours a week. No one working 40 hours a week should live below the poverty line.
Okay, so make it happen, bro.
An opportunity for women. And while we're doing this, let's get the Paycheck Fairness Act to my desk as well. Equal pay. They spent much too long. And if you wonder whether it's too long, look behind me.
Look behind you. No, look in front of you. Look in front of you, bro. You have the ability to do this. You have the ability to do this. Okay? Not all unions are equal. I work with the teachers union. I actually don't. Yeah, of course. Obviously, not all unions are equal. That's true. But nonetheless, I think that overall, in the grand scheme of things, unions are incredibly important. And also, you can't really judge that by like the 10% of the American workforce that is unionized. Like, we don't have. It's just not there.
Finally, American jobs plan will be the biggest increase in non-defense research and development on record. We'll see more technological change. And some of you know more about this than I do. We'll see more technological change in the next 10 years than we saw in the last 50. That's how rapidly artificial intelligence and so much more is changing. And we're falling behind the competition with the rest of the world. Decades ago, we used to invest 2% of our gross domestic product in America. 2% of our gross domestic product in research and development. Today, Mr. Secretary, that's less than 1%. China and other countries are closing in fast. We have to develop and dominate the products and technologies of the future. Advanced batteries, biotechnology, computer chips, clean energy.
Clean energy.
The Secretary of Defense can tell you, and those of you working on
Yeah,
security issues now,
I mean, again,
the Defense Department has an agency called DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. The people who set up...
I agree. We have to get ahead of it. We do have to get ahead of the game in terms of clean energy and technology, because it doesn't matter if it's us or another country. The point being is whoever has the most amount of resources and responsibility, looking at you, USA, has the most potential to try to solve this problem of climate change, right? That's it. Politics is always hypocritical. That's true.
Before I came here, and that's been a long time ago, to develop breakthroughs that enhance our national security. That's their only job. And it's a semi-separate agency. It's under the Defense Department. It's led to everything from the discovery of the internet, the GPS, and so much more that's enhanced our security. The National Institute of Health, the NIH, I believe, should create a similar advanced research projects agency for health. And that would do what it would do.
Okay.
It would have a singular purpose, to develop breakthroughs to prevent, detect, and treat diseases like Alzheimer's, diabetes, and cancer. I'll still never forget when we passed a cancer proposal in the last year as vice president. Almost $9 million going to NIH.
Beautiful, but we need to be talking about how about a universal healthcare system, okay? Can we pour resources into that? We really need to put more research into weapons. Barely any funding for K through 12. Yikes.
Excuse the point of personal privilege. I'll never forget you standing, Mitch, and saying, "Name it after my deceased son." It meant a lot. But so many of us.
Wait.
Have deceased sons, daughters, and relatives who died of cancer.
Wait, didn't he isn't he advocating for? Oh wait, no, he's advocating for free pre-K and free community college. Why are they wearing masks? Because they're inside? The new CDC guidelines say that you should still wear masks inside? Did you not read them, or did you only read the parts that you wanted to read? Yeah, Band-Aids. Correct. The new CDC guidelines say that even if you're vaccinated, you should still wear a mask inside in indoor events that are crowded. Nope, go read them again and then come back.
Answer. I can think of no more worthy investment. I know of nothing that is more bipartisan. So let's end cancer as we know it. It's within our power. It's within our power to do it.
Wait, is he just saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna straight up end cancer? I mean, I'm not gonna knock that, but why are you promising that?
We're talking about have often had bipartisan support in the past. Vice President Harris and I met regularly in the Oval Office with Democrats and Republicans and discussed the jobs plan. And I applaud a group of Republican senators who just put forward their own proposal. So let's get to work. I wanted to lay out before the Congress my plan before we got into the deep discussions. I'd like to meet with those who have ideas that are different, they think are better. I welcome those ideas. But the rest of the world is not waiting for us. I just want to be clear. From my perspective, doing nothing is not an option. Look, we can't be so busy competing with one another that we forget the competition that we have with the rest of the world to win the 21st century. Secretary Blinken can tell you I spent a lot of time with President Xi. Traveled over 17,000 miles with him. Spent, they tell me, over 24 hours in private discussions with him. When he called to congratulate me, we had a 2-hour discussion. He's deadly earnest about becoming the most significant, consequential nation in the world. He and others, autocrats, think that democracy can't compete in the 21st century with autocracies. It takes too long to get consensus. To win that competition for the future, in my view, we also need to make a once-in-a-generation investment in our families and our children. That's why I've introduced the American Families Plan tonight, which addresses 4 of the biggest challenges facing American families and in turn America. First is access to good education. When this nation made 12 years of public education universal in the last century, it made us the best educated, best prepared nation in the world. It's, I believe, the overwhelming reason that propelled us to where we got in the 20th century. But the world's caught up or catching up. They're not waiting. I would say parenthetically, if we were sitting down, we set a bipartisan committee together and said, okay, we're going to decide what we do in terms of government providing for free education. I wonder whether we'd think, as we did in the 20th century, that 12 years is enough in the 21st century. I doubt it. 12 years is no longer enough today to compete with the rest of the world in the 21st century. That's why my American Families Plan guarantees 4 additional years of public education for every person in America, starting as early as we can. The great universities in this country have conducted studies of the last 10 years. It shows that adding 2 years of universal high-quality preschool for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old, no matter what background they come from, puts them in a position to be able to compete all the way through 12 years and increases exponentially their prospect of graduating and going on beyond graduation. Research shows when a young child goes to school, not daycare, they're far more likely to graduate from high school and go to college or something after high school. When you add 2 years...
You would think they would value teachers in this country. Lamau.
And we'll increase Pell Grants and invest in historical black colleges and universities.
That's right, Hildebeest.
Minority-serving institutions. The reason is they don't have the endowments. But their students are just as capable of learning about cybersecurity, just as capable of learning about metallurgy, all the things that are going on that provide those jobs of the future. Jill is a community college professor who teaches today as First Lady. She's long said... If I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Joe, any country that out-educates us is going to outcompete us. She'll be deeply involved in leading this effort. Thank you, Jill. Second thing we need, American Families Plan will provide access to quality, affordable child care. We guarantee when I'm proposing the legislation, we guarantee that low and middle-income families will pay no more than 7% of their income for high-quality care for children up to the age of 5. The most hard-pressed working families won't have to spend a dime. Third, the American Families Plan will finally provide up to 12 weeks of paid leave and medical leave, family medical leave. We're one of the few industrial countries in the world.
Look at that. We're trying to propel ourselves. We're trying to catch up to the rest of the developed world. Imagine something that we could have done like decades ago. Something that's so standard. Something that's so standard as like paid family leave. Okay.
No one should have to choose between a job and a paycheck or taking care of themselves and their loved ones, or parent, or spouse, or child. And fourth, the American Family Plan puts directly into the pockets of millions of Americans. In March, we expanded tax credit for every child in a family, up to $3,000 per child if you're under 6 years of age. Over 6 years of age, and $3,600.
Yeah, we will see what
for children
Congress
over
does.
6 years of age. With 2 parents, 2 kids, that's $7,200 in the pockets to help take care of your family, and that will help more than 65 million children and help cut child care poverty in half. And we can afford it. So we did that in the last piece of legislation we passed. But let's extend that child care tax credit at least through the end of 2025. The American Rescue Plan lowered health care premiums for 9 million Americans who buy their coverage under the Affordable Care Act. I know that's really popular this side of the aisle. But let's make that provision permanent so their premiums don't go back up.
Yes. Socialism is when we give like a little bit of tax credits for children. Socialism is when we is when we try to give pre-K and college community college education. Correct.
In addition to my family's plan, I'm going to work with Congress to address this year other critical priorities for American families. The Affordable Care Act has been a lifeline for millions of Americans, protecting people with pre-existing conditions, protecting women's health, and the pandemic has demonstrated how badly it's needed. Let's lower deductibles for working families.
No. Oh my. Oh. That's not how you solve that issue.
The Affordable Care Act. And let's lower prescription drug costs.
Are we 420? I mean, I prefer you don't use that word, but yeah, I don't think anybody has a problem with marijuana.
How outrageously expensive drugs are in America. In fact, we pay the highest prescription drug prices of anywhere in the world, right here in America. Nearly 3 times for the same drug, nearly 3 times what other countries pay. We have to change that, and we can. Let's do what we talked about for all the years I was down here in this body, in Congress. Let's give Medicare the power to save hundreds of billions of dollars by negotiating lower drug prescription prices. And by the way, it won't just
yeah, it should.
Medicare. Lower prescription drug costs for everyone. And
it should be legalized, and in terms of what Biden is saying, yes, it should be. It should be. Drug prices shouldn't be this high. I mean, someone earlier was saying in chat that their medicine was up 400%. 400% for drug prices. Yes, I agree. Content warning, Ted Cruz. Yes, I believe that, Crowdom. I believe all of this should be legalized. Yeah, no problems with any of these. If we spend all the money used on the drug war with proper access, to health, we would probably still have money left over. True. This is why I love communism. That's not even communism, though. I mean, like, this is just basic stuff. We're not even touching, like, we're not even touching the surface. This is just basic stuff. Like ending the drug war and legalizing sex work isn't even communism. It's just basic stuff. Having like universal health care, these are just basic stuff. Having access to higher education. Alright, I think this person's just a troll. Listen, I have a suspicion that this person is just a troll. Content warning, Ted Cruz.
Benefits without costing taxpayers an additional penny. It's within our power to do it. Let's do it now. We've talked about it long enough. Democrats and Republicans, let's get it done this year. This is all about a simple premise.
Alio sure is a known troll. Yeah,
right,
confirmed.
So, how do we pay for my jobs and family plan? I made it clear we can do it without increasing the deficit. Let's start with what I will not do. I will not impose any tax increase on people making less than $400,000. But it's time for corporate America and the wealthiest 1% of Americans to just begin to pay their fair share. Just their fair share. Sometimes I have arguments with my friends in the Democratic Party. I think you should be able to become a billionaire and a millionaire, but pay your fair share. A recent study shows that 55 of the nation's biggest corporations.
Who is Kev's Cabs? I have no idea. Alio has been here for quite some time. I've never seen them troll. I don't know.
A lot of companies also evade taxes.
And you just came in here.
And the Cayman Islands. And they benefit from tax loopholes and deductions for offshoring jobs and shifting profits overseas. It's not right. We're going to reform corporate taxes so they pay their fair share and help pay for the public investments their businesses will benefit from as well. We're going to reward work, not just wealth. We take the top tax bracket for the wealthiest 1% of Americans, those making over $400,000 or more, back up to where it was when George W. Bush was president, when he started, 39.6%. That's where it was when George W. was president. We're going to get rid of the loopholes, allow Americans to make more than $1 million a year, and pay a lower tax rate on their capital gains than Americans who receive a paycheck. We're only going to affect 0.3% of.
We need a moment of silence. Oh, yes. Guys, for those of you that don't know, unfortunately, is it Kek W, man? Senor Risitas has unfortunately passed away. He will forever be memorialized in this emote. He will forever be memorialized in this emote, so rest in peace, Senor Risitas, aka Kek W. Or sent for it, isn't the end goal improving people's lives? I mean, democracy gave us. Alright, that's it. What is this anti-democracy argument? Just because I don't trust Biden doesn't mean I don't believe in democracy. And furthermore, you were wrong about CDC guide. Like, you were wrong. You were just wrong. In indoor activities, in all cases, fully vaccinated people should be wearing masks. So you were wrong on all accounts. Like, what is this argument? Yeah, we're basically a technocracy. True.
Of all Americans by that action, 0.3%. And the IRS is going to crack down on millionaires and billionaires who cheat on their taxes. It's estimated to be billions of dollars by think tanks that are left, right, and center. I'm not looking to punish anybody, but I will not add a tax burden, additional tax burden to the middle class.
No, they're going to take a break.
I believe what I propose is fair, fiscally responsible.
It's certainly not
It raises
democracy.
revenue
That's
to pay for
true.
the plans I propose and will create millions of jobs that will grow the economy and enhance our financial standing in the country.
My point
Here's
is,
something to say.
just because
We're gonna
like
tax on the wealthiest 1%
there are
or corporate America. Ask
clear
them,
issues
who's
with
taxing
our
Instead, who's our
democracy,
Look,
does not mean democracy isn't the best way.
remember, it was supposed to pay for itself. That was how it was sold. And generate vast economic growth.
Nobody cares what Glenn
Instead,
Greenwald has to
it
say.
added $2 trillion to the deficit.
If you're vaccinated, why do you need a mask still? Because you could still spread it. You could
Instead of using
technically
the
still
tax
get
savings to
it.
raise wages and invest in research and development, it poured billions of dollars into the pockets of CEOs. In fact, the pay gap between CEOs and their workers is now among the largest in history. According to one study, CEOs make 320 times what the average worker in their corporation makes. It used to be in the below 100. The pandemic has only made things worse. 20 million Americans lost their job in the pandemic, working in middle-class Americans. At the same time, roughly 650 billionaires in America saw their net worth increase by more than $1 trillion in the same exact period. Let me say it again. 650 people increased their wealth by more than $1 trillion during this pandemic. And they're now worth more than $4 trillion. My fellow Americans, trickle down. Trickle down.
Is the U.S. fully vaccinated? Nope.
It's time to grow the economy from the bottom and the middle out. You know, there's a broad consensus of economists left, right, and center, and they agree what I'm proposing will help create millions of jobs and generate historic economic growth.
Nope.
These are among the highest values investments we can make as a nation.
That's not true. Wait. Which? Explain to me which right-leaning which right-leaning Republican is advocating for any of this? Hey, Renardus, how's it going?
I've often said our greatest strength is the power of our example, not just the example of our power. In my conversations with world leaders, and I've spoken to over 38, 40 of them now, I've made it known that America's back. You know what they say? The comment I hear most of all from them is they say, we see America's back, but for how long? But for how long? My fellow Americans, we have to show not just that we're back, but we're back to stay, and that we aren't going to go alone. We're going to do it by leading with our allies. No
Trickle down has never worked.
can
That's
deal
true.
with all the crises of our time, from terrorism to nuclear proliferation, mass migration, cybersecurity, climate change, as well as what we're experiencing now, pandemics. There's no wall high enough to keep any virus out. And our own vaccine supply, as it grows to meet our needs, and we're meeting them, will become an arsenal for vaccines for other countries, just as America's arsenal for democracy for the world, and in consequence, influence the world. But every American.
Wait. What? How does vaccines... Cruz and Josh High said they're not going to take... Hope they follow through. Lamau. Nah. Those guys are generally known to be liars. I don't know what that means.
Will have access before that occurs. Every American will have access to be fully covered by COVID-19 for the vaccines we have. Look, the climate crisis is not our fight alone. It's a global fight. The United States accounts, as all of you know, less than 15% of carbon emissions. The rest of the world accounts for 85%. That's why I kept my commitment to rejoin the Paris Accord, because if we do everything perfectly, it's not going to matter. I kept my commitment to convene a climate summit right here in America with all the major economies of the world: China, Russia, India, European Union. And I said I'd do it in my first 100 days. I want to be very blunt about it. My attempt was to make sure.
Okay. Here's where I'm going to get, like, a little bit triggered. Now, it is true that in order for us to solve the climate crisis, we are going to need to build an international coalition. Yes, that is true. However, how are we supposed to do that with a straight face, get up on the world stage and say we need to do this, and then do absolutely nothing here at home? What we need to do is to set an aggressive plan to tackle climate change, implement that plan for real, not talking, but for real, upgrade all of this stuff, upgrade all of this stuff to clean renewable energy, and then be able to say, hey, look, we've done this, we've done X, Y, and Z, here's what we did, here's how you can do it, and how can we help? Okay? Here's what we did, how we did it, and how can we help? Without doing it, especially us as having a especially us having a huge cross to bear with in terms of climate change, we should be at the front of A, addressing it here, B, creating and implementing those plans, and C, going to other countries that can't afford it or don't have the ability to say, hey, how can we help? Yeah, that's basically what that other person was arguing. Cheeto, correct.
That the world could see there was a consensus, that we are at an inflection point in history. The consensus is if we act to save the planet, we can create millions of jobs and economic growth and opportunity and raise the standard of living almost everyone around the world. If you watched any of it and you were all busy, I'm sure you didn't have much time. That's what virtually every nation said, even the ones that aren't doing their fair share.
When it's permanently detailed as a duty of the federal government to take it seriously to the rest of the world. Yeah, we need to be able to go up on the world stage and say, hey, this is what we are doing. We're taking our responsibility because we have a huge chunk of it to bear, right? Here's what we did. Here's how we implemented it. And how can we help? That's what it is. But all of this means nothing to me. All of this means nothing to me until I see some type of action. Did you cover the Del Mar shootings yet? No. What? There's another one? Jesus. Can we take a second to look on the right-hand corner? The tags on this C-SPAN stream says GameStop. Why? You cannot force people in Africa or Vietnam. Nobody's saying force. Wait, who talked about force? What we're saying is this is what we need to do. And how can we help? And you do know that we can work with China to reduce their emissions across Africa and Asia. That's also true. But in order for us to have any type of leg to stand on, we need to have a plan ourselves and implement it. Oh, because it's trending. Remember, we have not only the cross to bear, but also we need to be the ones who implement it here first.
We welcome the competition. We're not looking for conflict. But I made absolutely clear that we will defend America's interest across the board. America will stand up to unfair trade practices that undercut American workers and American industries, like subsidies from state to state-owned operations and enterprises, and the theft of American technology and intellectual property. I also told President Xi we'll maintain a strong military presence in the Indo-Pacific, just as we do with NATO and Europe. Not to start a conflict, but to prevent one.
We also need to do it here because, well, it's just good. Why should we worry about that, Great Equalizer? How do we know that if we don't even have a leg to stand on?
I pointed out to him, no responsible American president could remain silent when basic human rights are being so blatantly violated. An American president has to represent the essence of what our country stands for. America is an idea, the most unique idea in history. We are created, all of us, equal. It's who we are. And we cannot walk away from that principle and, in fact, say we're dealing with the American idea. With regard to Russia, I know it concerns some of you, but I made very clear to Putin that we're not going to seek escalation, but their actions will have consequences. They turn out to be true, and they turned out to be true. So I responded directly and proportionally to Russia's interference in our elections and the cyber attacks on our government and our business. They did both of these things.
I mean, yes.
We can also cooperate when it's our mutual interest. We did it when we extended the New START Treaty on nuclear arms, and we're working to do it on climate change. But he understands we will respond. On Iran and North Korea, nuclear programs that present serious threats to American security and the security of the world. We're going to be working closely with our allies to address the threats posed by both of these countries.
What?
Through diplomacy as well as stern deterrence. And American leadership means ending the forever war in Afghanistan. We have...
Oh, yeah. Known threat, North Korea.
We have, without hyperbole, the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. I'm the first president in 40 years who knows what it means to have a son serving in a war zone. Today, we have service members serving in the same war zone as their parents did. We have service members in Afghanistan who are not yet born on 9/11. The war in Afghanistan, as we remember the debates,
not true.
were never meant to be multi-generational undertakings of nation building. We went to Afghanistan to get terrorists, the terrorists who attacked us on 9/11.
What is
We
this?
said we would follow Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell. White supremacy is terrorism. We're not going to ignore that either. My fellow Americans, look, we have to come together to heal the soul of this nation. It was nearly a year ago before her father's funeral when I spoke with Gianna Floyd, George Floyd's young daughter. She's a little tyke, so I was kneeling down to talk to her so I could look her in the eye. She looked at me, she said, "My daddy changed the world." Well, after the conviction of George Floyd's murderer, we can see how right she was if we have the courage to act as a Congress. We've all seen the knee of injustice on the neck of black Americans. Now's our opportunity to make some real progress. The vast majority of men and women wearing a uniform and a badge serve our communities, and they serve them honorably. I know them. I know they want... I know they want to help meet this moment as well. My fellow Americans, we have to come together to rebuild trust between law enforcement and the people they serve, to root out systemic racism in our criminal justice system, and to enact police reform in George Floyd's name that passed the House already. I know Republicans have their own ideas and are engaged in very productive discussions with Democrats in the Senate. We need to work together to find a consensus. But let's get it done next month, by the first anniversary of George Floyd's death.
Or could do it now? It's kind of weird.
Supports this reform, and Congress should act. We have a giant opportunity to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice, real justice. And with the plans outlined tonight, we have a real chance to root out systemic racism that plagues America and American life in other ways. A chance to deliver real equity. Good jobs, good schools, affordable housing, clean air, clean water, being able to generate wealth and pass it down to generations because you have access to purchase a house. Real opportunities in the lives of more Americans, black, white, Latino, Asian Americans, Native Americans. Look, I also want to thank the United States Senate for voting 94-1 to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act to protect Asian American and Pacific Islanders. We acted decisively.
When you only work 4 hours a day once a week? What does that even mean? I don't get it.
This past year and for too long. I urge the House to do the same and send that legislation to my desk, which I would.
All right, so really quickly, what he was talking about is essentially what I'm advocating for. If you want to give people most amount of opportunity, you really want to raise people to be their best self or give them the most opportunity, at least in my view, you got to address a lot of these problems. And I think that my prescription would be to make sure that people have food, housing, education, and healthcare. I mean, it's doing these things will absolutely, as Joe Biden put it, give people across the board the opportunity. I mean, I think he dropped hints at future attempts at a UBI. It depends on how that's deployed.
Anxiously signed. I also hope Congress will get to my desk the Equality Act to protect LGBTQ Americans. For all transgender Americans watching at home, especially young people, you're so brave. I want you to know your president has your back. Another thing, let's authorize the Violence Against Women Act, which has been law for 27 years. 27 years ago, I wrote it. It'll close the act that has to be authorized now. Will close the boyfriend loophole to keep guns out of the hands of abusers. The court order said this is an abuser. You can't own a gun. It's to close that loophole that existed. You know, it's estimated that 50 women are shot and killed by an intimate partner every month in America. 50 a month. Let's pass it and save some lives. And I need not tell anyone this, but gun violence...
Elio with the 19 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Still find it half-mast.
It has to come from the bottom up. Yes, that is true.
10 more lives were taken in a mass shooting in Colorado. And in the week in between those two events,
Yella King with the tier 1 subscription. We're at 5 months now. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Universal background checks. A ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines that hold 100 rounds that can be fired off in seconds. We beat the NRA. Mass shootings and gun violence declined. Check out the report over 10 years. But in the early 2000s, the law expired. We've seen daily bloodshed since. I'm not saying if the law
Thank you.
we wouldn't see bloodshed. More than 2 weeks ago in the Rose Garden, surrounded by some of the bravest people I know, the survivors and families who lost loved ones to gun violence, I laid out several of the Department of Justice actions that are being taken to impact on this epidemic. One of them is banning so-called ghost guns. These are homemade guns built from a kit that includes directions on how to finish the firearm. The parts have no serial numbers, so they show up at crime scenes and they can't be traced. The buyers of these ghost gun kits aren't required to pass any background check. Anyone, from a criminal or terrorist, could buy this kit and within 30 minutes have a weapon that's legal.
Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Everything in my power to protect the American people
Thank
from the
you.
epidemic of gun violence, but it's time for Congress to act as well. Look.
Well,
I don't want to become confrontational, but we need more Senate Republicans to join the overwhelming majority of Democratic colleagues and close the loopholes required in background check purchases of guns. We need a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And don't tell me it can't be done. We did it before and it worked. Talk to most responsible gun owners and hunters. They'll tell you there's no possible justification for having 100 rounds in a weapon. What do you think, deer wearing Kevlar vests? What's...
Well, the real reason why there's a lot of corruption is because things like lobbying are perfectly fine. Corporations are allowed to buy politicians. I mean, that's where the corruption is. I'm not sure if it has to do with the amount of work they do, but of course, they also do pick their own salaries.
They'll tell you that there are too many people today who are able to buy a gun, but shouldn't be able to buy a gun.
True, lobbying should be illegal.
American people, including many gun owners. The country supports reform, and Congress should act. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue. And no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. From the very beginning, there were certain guns, weapons, that could not be owned by
It is
terrorists.
bribery.
Certain people could not own those weapons ever. We're not changing the Constitution. We're being reasonable. I think this is not a Democratic or Republican issue. I think it's an American issue. And
Just without money? I mean,
immigration has always been essential to America.
depends what that means.
For more than 30 years, politicians have talked about immigration reform, and we've done nothing about it. It's time to fix it. On day one of my presidency, I kept my commitment to send a comprehensive immigration bill to the United States Congress. If you believe we need to secure the border, pass it, because it has a lot of money for high-tech border security. If you believe in a pathway to citizenship, pass it. There's over 11 million undocumented folks, the vast majority of here overstaying visas. Pass it. We can actually, if you actually want to solve a problem, I've sent a bill to take a close look at it.
Looking at you, Ted.
The problem of why people are fleeing, particularly to our southern border from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The violence, the corruption, the gangs, the political instability, hunger, hurricanes, earthquakes, natural disasters. When I was president, when I was vice president, the president asked me to focus on providing help needed to address the root causes of migration and to help keep people in their own countries instead of being forced to leave. The plan was working, but the last administration decided it was not worth it. I'm restoring the program and asked Vice President Harris to lead our diplomatic effort to take care of this. I have absolute confidence she'll get the job done. Now look, if you don't like my plan, let's at least pass what we all agree on. Congress needs to pass legislation this year to finally secure protection for dreamers. The young people who only know America as their home. And
Right, that is an argument, War Machine.
Status who came from countries beset by man-made and natural-made violence and disaster, as well as a pathway to citizenship for farm workers who put food on our tables. Look, immigrants have done so much for America during this pandemic and throughout our history. The country supports immigration reform. We should act. Let's argue over it. Let's debate it. Let's act. And if we truly want to restore the soul of America, we need to protect the sacred right to vote. Most people more people voted in the last presidential election than any time in American history, in the middle of the worst pandemic ever. It should be celebrated. Instead, it's being attacked. Congress should pass H.R. 1 and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and send it to my desk right away. The country supports it, and Congress should act now. Look, in conclusion,
I don't
as we gather here
know.
tonight, the image of
Talk to President Joe Manchin.
a violent mob assaulting this Capitol, desecrating our democracy, remain vivid in all our minds. Lives were put at risk, many of your lives. Lives were lost. Extraordinary courage was summoned. The insurrection was an existential crisis, a test on whether our democracy could survive, and it did. But the struggle is far from over. The question of whether our democracy will long endure is both ancient and urgent, as old as our republic, still vital today. Can our democracy deliver on its promise that all of us, created equal in the image of God, had a chance to lead lives of dignity, respect, and possibility? Can our democracy deliver the most pressing needs of our people? Can our democracy overcome the lies, anger, hate, and fears that have pulled us apart? America's adversaries, the autocrats of the world, are betting we can't. And I promise you they're betting we can't. They believe we're too full of anger and division and rage. They look at the images of the mob that assaulted the Capitol as proof that the sun is setting on American democracy. But they're wrong. You know it, I know it. But we have to prove them wrong. We have to prove democracy still works, that our government still works, and we can deliver for our people.
But
in our first 100 days together, we've acted to restore people's faith in democracy to deliver. We're vaccinating the nation. We're creating hundreds of thousands of new jobs. We're delivering real results to people. They can see it, feel it in their own lives. Opening doors of opportunity, guaranteeing some more fairness and justice. That's the essence of America. That's democracy in action. Our Constitution opens with the words, as trite as it sounds, we the people. Well, it's time to remember that we the people are the government. You and I. Not some force in a distant capital. Not some powerful force that we have no control over. It's us. It's we the people. In another era, when our democracy was tested, Franklin Roosevelt reminded us, in America, we do our part. We all do our part. That's all I'm asking. That we do our part, all of us. If we do that, we will meet the center challenge of the age by proving that democracy is durable and strong. Autocrats will not win the future. We will. America will. And the future belongs to America. As I stand here tonight before you in the new and vital hour of life and democracy of our nation.
Okay. Oh, okay. Hold on. First of all, if you want to have a strong democracy, meaning a resilient democracy, you need to have strong institutions, meaning they function as intended. Hold on, folks. Give me 1 second. She was just dying to get in here.
And I can say with absolute confidence, I have never been more confident or optimistic about America. Not because I'm president, because what's happening with America.
Oh, yes. Before I forget. So, in order for a democracy to be strong and functioning, it needs these things. Strong institutions, meaning institutions that work as they are supposed to. We need transparent institutions, meaning we need to understand what our Congress is doing. Things need to be very clear and easy, well laid out, so that people understand what these laws mean, what these proposals mean, what it means for them. If you're going to do a new budget, what does that mean? It needs to be incredibly transparent, and it needs to be inclusive. And also, just to go back, what I mean by strong institutions, meaning there also has to be a very, very, very effective checks and balances, and again, make sure that institutions work as they're supposed to. And of course, the last part is inclusion, right? Inclusion. That means people need to participate. Okay? This system right here, this does not incentivize people to participate. Okay? People are disillusioned with the two-party system or with the current Democratic and Republican duopoly, right? Yes, Renardus. Too many people with heads in hands because there's no real incentive. People feel like both parties are not representative of their politics, so they don't participate, and it becomes apathy. Just as simple as that. Yes, I agree, War Machine. So, yeah, in order for us to have a democracy, a resounding, resilient, I should say, democracy, we need these things. Yeah, so that's part of transparencies, Squid Deer. We need to be able to, whatever happens, if there's going to be a new, I don't know, a new bill to provide healthcare to everybody, right? A new Medicare for All bill that's going to come up. There should be a clear, transparent, concise version of what this is going to do, how it's going to help the people, what it's going to entail, and why they're doing this, right? Yeah, the reason why I brought it up is because if people really, I think if people really understood what a universal healthcare system would be, I think if they actually really understood, they'd be overwhelmingly in favor.
Into the abyss of insurrection and autocracy, pandemic and pain. And we, the people, did not flinch. The very moment our adversaries were certain we'd pull apart and fail, we came together, we united. With light and hope, we summoned a new strength, new resolve, to position us to win the competition of the 21st century.
What?
On our way to a union, more perfect, more prosperous, and more just. As one people, one nation, and one America. Folks, as I told every world leader I've ever met with over the years, it's never, ever, ever been a good bet to bet against America, and it still isn't. We're the United States of America. There's not a single thing, nothing beyond our capacity. We can do whatever we set our minds to if we do it together. So let's begin to get together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for your patience.
Sorted out on per capita basis, as if in 1.4 billion combined emit more than. Yeah, I mean it's just simple. Proud CIA asset. It's just simple. We here at home need to take care of this. We here at home need to take care of our, you know, of our stuff here, and then use that as a leg to stand on to then say, hey, on the international stage, this is a problem, here's what we're doing about it, because we are the majority, we've got the biggest cross to bear on this. Here's how what we're doing. How can we help you? That's it. Simple as that. In terms of getting an international coalition, that's what we need to do. Of course, doing that alone isn't going to solve climate change. However, it is an aspect of it. I'm just indifferent. Yeah, wouldn't it be awesome, Grolum, if we had a system, a more democratic system, that didn't make you feel indifferent? Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome if we had a system where you didn't feel indifferent? Where you didn't feel indifferent? Right, Squidier, and that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. China's actually doing stuff, so we can't say anything when we're doing nothing at all. Yes, that's also true. There's other countries, China included, which China is huge, or will have a huge part to play because they're the biggest solar panel manufacturers at this time, if I'm correct. So they will have a huge part to play in terms of like, okay, can we get solar panels from them? What are they gonna do in terms of this? Like, they have a part to play in this. But even they are doing stuff. A myriad of other countries are attempting to do stuff about this. And furthermore, we can't worry about what other countries are doing until we have our stuff in order. Which brings me back to my same point. We should be focusing on what we can do ourselves, and then go on the international stage and be like, hey, look, we've got to get together and do this. What does that even mean? Wait, who's talking about organs? What? Are you okay? What? My point being is we need to build an international coalition, but we can't do that if we're not doing anything ourselves. Jesus Christ. It's that simple. Zeros at Frobs, this dab is for you. Yeah, they're doing something. We are not. Okay, so the point being is, again, we need to focus on what we do here, and then have the ability to say, okay, we need to get together and work on this. And it still doesn't change the fact that we still have the biggest cross to bear in terms of climate change. I think we need to worry about what we can do here at home before we start looking and pointing the fingers at other countries. That is correct. Well, that's why we can continue to talk about it. We don't have, unfortunately, Kinetic Pods, we don't have a long time. Which is why it's imperative we take action. I want to know if this is true. Because these could be fake. I want to know it. Where's the cat? Okay. Apparently there's a bunch of Telegram screenshots, I believe. And then the finale. I think this person has completely lost it if this is true. I think Linwood has completely lost it. If this is true. And even if it's faked, that is still a very big problem because it propagates this this QAnon stuff, even if it's faked. Even if these photos are faked, and these Telegram stuff is faked, it's still a huge problem because, well, the QAnon people believe it. So I don't know who took the time. If it's him, he's gone completely off base. And if it's somebody like creating these and then spreading them, it is also just as bad. This has to be fake. The photo might be an old photo or something, but the point being is that there's a lot of people who believe this. I don't understand what's going on. Trump's old lawyer, Linwood, allegedly posted all of these in Telegram, it seems, and then it's a picture of him sitting next to President Trump saying that he's right now working in that Trump right now is working in the Oval Office. What's Telegram? I'm so glad you don't know what that is. Trust me. It's a more cat, excuse you. Please don't tear down my setup. Yeah, it's either shopped or old. Or an old photo. Hold on. Telegram is like a crypto, it's a more underground, far right, like social media site. Phew, that was close. Okay. Oh yeah, this is from California. So they just build a QMR into virtual reality in the Matrix so that they can fly. And Trump will be president. Yeah, let's just leave them in, plug them into the Matrix. But no, even if this was all faked, like in terms of you know, him photoshopping, or even if somebody else made this fake story, it doesn't matter because it still perpetuates this QAnon nonsense, okay? It still perpetuates this QAnon nonsense. Yeah, it's literally what they want. If you ask me, this is probably a crafted message. This is probably somebody who just wants to keep that conspiracy going, and it's incredibly frustrating. And we can go on about having a real society. Alright, alright. One more time, folks. Anything to say for yourself, Kat? No? Okay. California's homeless crisis is far bigger than it appears. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Trump foo. Santa Cruz is really close to passing an anti-camping ordinance. Yikes. I mean, it's cheaper to solve homelessness by just getting people housing. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Wow, amazing, until the city council was shown documentation that policing and displacing 20,000 homeless would cost more than just... That's... yes, precisely my point. It would just be cheaper to make sure that people have these things. It's just like such a disconnect. It's such a disconnect. When people choose to do the most inefficient way to solve a problem. But instead we have this. People going on about how President Trump is still the president. I don't know what Indianapolis homeless numbers would be because our winters are so terrible it's hard to survive them. That's horrifying. That's horrifying. Yeah. Can't have cheap housing to bring down my 800K property value. Finland gives housing unconditionally to people. We as a nation should do the same. Hey, wow, amazing, cool. Oh, wow, amazing, unbelievable. You mean they saw a problem and they just solved it? Unreal. Not to mention he doesn't give a shit about our citizens anyways. Yikes. Alright, folks. Unfortunately, I do have to start heading out. I want to thank everybody who hanged out with us here today. Thank you, Darknet. Thank you, Spread It Forward. Thank you, Grolum. I appreciate all the support you guys have given. Thank you all for the new follows. Thank you, Yella King. Thank you, Ali for the subs. Alio share with the biddies. Thank you so much for all the support. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I do want to take a second. If you guys enjoy the channel, please make sure you hit that follow button, like the stream, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and do us a huge favor. Spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for news and politics, Monday through Thursday, 9 AM to 11 AM Eastern Time. This is the chillest place to be. Tell anyone and everyone. Yeah, that's horrible, Squid. Have a good weekend. See you on Catterday. Exactly. Saturday, Catterday, folks. Yeah, it should just be, alright? Indiana just giving out thoughts and prayers. That's horrifying. That's horrifying. So TLDR, I'll just give you the quick TLDR of what I thought. The Biden speech had some good elements, but I don't foresee any of these. I don't foresee anything. Don't expect anything. Don't hold your breath, especially when it comes out to climate change. Alright, folks, as always, please take care. Please take care of each other. Please stay safe. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next stream. See ya! No, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Later, friend. Alright, let's go to Bleep Blop Ben. Let's show some awesome love to Bleep Blop Ben. They are, I believe, still on a partner push. Let's help them out, alright? Let's show some awesome and difficult truth love. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.